Okay, this video is going to cover the last example, which is very similar to some homework problems you have in my open math. So it says, consider a small country with 4 states. The rules for the number of senators and electors are the same as the U.S. government. And so what that's saying is that your senators will still be the same. So for each state, we get 2 senators. So I'm going to stop reading there and just fill that in quickly. So we get 2 for North, South, East, and West. Now the number of representatives is determined for 1 per every 50,000 residents. And what we're going to try to do is determine the number of electoral votes per 50,000 residents and see who has the most power out of all these states. Okay, so to find the number of representatives, you're going to take your population and you divide it by how many representatives they get per resident. So this is, they get 1 per 50,000. So it might be different when you're doing the homework. So when you do that in your calculator, we end up getting 6. And remember, number of electors is we add these 2 together, so we get 8. I'm going to hold off on filling in this column to the end. So I'm going to do the same thing for the South state. So it's 350,000 per 50,000. If I divide those, I end up getting 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. And here, 250,000 people, but we get 1 representative per 50,000. So that, remember, the other thing is I want to make clear is for every, if I use this word per, that means divide. All right, so if I do 250,000 divided by 50,000, I get 5. If I add those, I get 7. And then here I do 200,000 divided by 50,000. And I end up getting 4. Add those together, so we get 6 electors for the West state. Okay, so this last column. What it's getting at, it says it wants to know the number of electors per 50,000 residents. All right, well, we know already the number of electors. We also know how many we have per 50,000. That is exactly what we found here. We did everything per, we divided by 50,000. And so we already found those values here. And so what we want to do here is we take our number of electors, we divide, since it's per, the 50,000. Well, we know within a population of 300,000, right, there are 6 50,000 groups in 300,000. So hopefully that actually sits well with you. If I do 8 divided by 6 and it says round to 3 decimal places, I get 1.333, and I should use the rounding symbol. So what that is saying is I'm getting about 1.3 number of electors per 50,000 residents in this state. So if we go to the South state, I'm going to take my number of electors and divide it by 7. 9 divided by 7 is about 1.286. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that it is worth more here so far than it is in the South state because it's larger. Okay, we're going to keep going and then hopefully at the end it will make more sense. So here I'm going to do 7 divided by 5 and I end up getting 1.4. And here I do 6 divided by 4 and I actually, this is exactly 1.4 and this is exactly 1.5. And so what happens is this has the largest weight. So when it says the state with the most electoral power, okay, so most votes per the 50,000, that would be the West. Another way they might ask it in my open math is between the smallest and largest state. Well, if you look here and compare it to the rest, 200,000 is the smallest state. Okay, so it's saying that the most electoral power is actually given in this case to the smallest state because it's weighted the most. All right, reach out if you have any questions.